The silent observers Lena Vasquez had always been too curious for her own good. Her colleagues at Research Station Omega-7 called it a character flaw. Her supervisor called it a distraction from her duties. But Alina called it being human. The warning had come from Commander Brooks himself during the morning briefing 3 days ago. The Velthani refugees are here for temporary shelter, nothing more. Do not engage with them. Do not speak to them. Do not even acknowledge their presence. They are under our protection, but they are not our friends. But how could Alina pretend they didn't exist when the alien queen and her daughter sat in the same corner of the station cafeteria every single day? The tall, elegant woman with her silver blue skin that seemed to shimmer like moonlight on water, and her much smaller daughter whose large, dark eyes held an intelligence that reminded Alina of her own younger sister back on Earth. For 3 days Alina had followed orders. For 3 days she had walked past their table during her lunch break, her magnetic boots clicking against the metal floor, carefully avoiding any eye contact. For 3 days she had watched as every other crew member gave them an even wider berth, whispering among themselves about the strange aliens and their mysterious ways. The Velthani had arrived on a damaged vessel that barely held together long, enough to dock with Omega-7, according to the official reports. Their homeworld had been destroyed in a cosmic disaster, and they were among the last survivors of their species. The Galactic Council had assigned various human stations to provide temporary refuge while permanent settlements were arranged. But temporary had stretched into weeks, and Alina could see the strain in the alien queen's posture, the way her daughter fidgeted with what looked like some kind of translation device during their silent meals. Alina worked in the communications department, monitoring deep space transmissions and maintaining contact with Earth Command. It was routine work that left her mind free to wander, and lately it wandered to the 2 silent figures in the cafeteria. Dr. Chen, her mentor and the station's chief researcher, had mentioned that the Velthani possessed advanced technology that could be beneficial to human science. But Commander Brooks had made it clear that any such discussions would be handled through official diplomatic channels, not by junior officers with more curiosity than sense. On the 4th day, something changed. Alina was carrying her lunch tray across the cafeteria when she noticed the young Velthani girl struggling with her translation device. The small, crystalline object was making harsh static sounds instead of the usual soft humming Alina had observed from a distance. The girl's frustration was evident in the way her delicate hands moved frantically over the device's surface. Her mother, Queen Thyra, according to the briefing files, watched with concern but seemed unable to help. Then it happened. The device slipped from the girl's grasp and skittered across the smooth floor, coming to rest at Elena's feet. The princess looked up at her with those impossibly large, dark eyes, clearly afraid to approach the human who stood frozen between protocol and instinct. Every regulation, every warning, every piece of advice from Commander Brooks screamed at Alina to step around the device and continue to her table. Instead, she set down her tray, bent down, and carefully picked up the delicate instrument. The device was warm to the touch, and seemed to pulse with its own internal light. Alina could feel tiny vibrations running through it, almost like a heartbeat. She walked over to their table, acutely aware that every other human in the cafeteria was now staring at her. "I believe this belongs to you," Alina said softly, offering the device to the young princess. Queen Thyra's posture straightened, and Alina could see a ripple of what might have been surprise pass across her features. The princess's eyes widened, and she carefully took the device from Elena's hands. "Thank you," the girl whispered in heavily accented English, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Most humans, they do not... She trailed off, glancing nervously at her mother. Zara, Queen Thyra's voice, carried harmonics that made Alina think of crystals singing bowls. We should not burden this human with our troubles. But there was something in the Queen's tone that suggested she wasn't entirely displeased by Alina. Kindness against every instinct for self-preservation. Alina found herself asking, "May I sit down?" The question hung in the air for a long moment. She could feel the weight of dozens of human stares boring into her back. Could imagine Commander Brooks's reaction if he learned about this breach of protocol. But something in the Queen's expression, a flicker of hope perhaps, made her wait. For an answer, "You may," Queen Thyra said finally, gesturing to the empty chair beside her daughter. Alina sat down, her heart pounding as she realized she was about to have the first real conversation between humans and Velthani since their arrival. "I'm Alina," she said, looking between the mother and daughter. "I work in communications. I monitor the deep space channels and help coordinate with other stations." Princess Zara's face lit up with excitement. "I am Zara, and this is my mother, Queen Thyra of the 7th Moon Colony. Are you really a communications officer? Do you talk to people on other worlds? Do you know how to fix translation matrices?" Alina couldn't help but smile at the girl's enthusiasm. "I know a little about translation protocols. Is your device malfunctioning?" Queen Thyra leaned forward slightly. "Our translation technology is different from yours. It uses harmonic resonance patterns rather than digital processing. When it malfunctions, it becomes quite difficult for us to understand your language clearly." Harmonic resonance. Elena's scientific curiosity kicked in. "That sounds incredibly sophisticated. Most of our translation systems just match word patterns and grammatical structures. Your people think in very linear ways," Queen Thyra explained, her voice taking on the tone of a teacher. "Our language incorporates emotional undertones and conceptual layers that your digital systems cannot interpret. But we have been observing humans since our arrival, trying to understand your communication patterns." Alina realized something. "Is that why you sit here every day? You're studying us?" Princess Zara nodded eagerly. "We watch how humans interact, how they express emotions, how they share food and stories. But no one talks to us, so we can only observe from distance." There was a note of loneliness in her voice that tugged at Elena's heart. Over the following week, Alina began spending her lunch breaks with the Velthani royalty. She learned that their ship hadn't just been damaged by cosmic debris, as the official reports claimed. They were fleeing from something called the Void Swarm, a destructive force that consumed entire star systems. The 7th Moon Colony had been their last refuge before it too fell to the swarm. "We are not just refugees, Queen," Thyra confided one day, her voice barely above a whisper. "We are the keepers of our people's knowledge. Everything our civilization learned about energy manipulation, about harmonic technologies, about living in balance with the cosmos, it all rests with us now." Alina learned that Velthani technology worked by understanding and manipulating the fundamental vibrations that held matter together. They could encourage crystal formations, purifying water systems, and even enhance the efficiency of fusion reactors by working with, rather than against, natural harmonic frequencies. It was science that bordered on what humans might call magic, but it was based on principles that Elena's training in communications theory helped to begin to understand. "Your people fear us because we are different," Queen Thyra said during one of their conversations, but we fear that our knowledge will die with us if we cannot find others willing to learn and preserve it. Princess Zara had been teaching Alina simple Velthani phrases, and Alina discovered she had an unusual aptitude for the tonal aspects of their language. You think like we do, Zara explained. You understand that words carry more than just information. They carry intention and feeling. When Dr. Chen discovered what Alina had been doing, he was intrigued rather than angry. Alina, you realize you've made first contact with a species whose technology could revolutionize our understanding of physics. But when Commander Brooks found out, his reaction was exactly what Alina had expected. Vasquez, you've compromised station security and violated direct orders. These aliens could be gathering intelligence about our operations, our defenses, our capabilities. His face was red with anger as he paced behind his desk. You're confined to quarters pending a full investigation. But Alina stood her ground. Sir, they've been trying to help us understand their technology. They've offered solutions to problems we didn't even know we had. And they're not gathering intelligence. They're trying to preserve the last remnants of their civilization. As Alina was escorted to her quarters, she caught a glimpse of Queen Thyra and Princess Zara sitting alone in their usual spot in the cafeteria. For the first time since meeting them, they looked truly isolated. And Alina realized that her friendship had meant as much to them as theirs had to her. Asterisk the bond that changed everything 2 days into Elena's confinement. The station's primary life support systems began experiencing cascade failures. It started with minor fluctuations in the atmospheric processors, then escalated to complete breakdowns in the water reclamation systems. Commander Brooks called all senior staff to emergency stations, but their best engineers couldn't identify the root cause of the malfunctions. Alina could hear the emergency klaxons from her quarters and knew something was seriously wrong. Through her small porthole, she could see the worried faces of crew members hurrying through the corridors. The gravity generators were stuttering, causing brief moments of weightlessness that sent unsecured objects floating round her room. Dr. Chen arrived at Elena's quarters 12 hours into the crisis. We need you, he said without preamble. The communication arrays are failing, and you're the only one who understands the harmonic calibration systems well enough to keep us in contact with Earth. As Alina worked frantically to maintain their communication links, she overheard the desperate conversations between Commander Brooks and Earth Command. The station was dying, and they couldn't figure out why. Traditional diagnostic systems showed that all components were functioning within normal parameters, but the overall system integration was breaking down in ways that defied conventional engineering logic. It's like the systems are fighting each other instead of working together, Chief Engineer Martinez reported over the com. Every time we fix one subsystem, 2 others start malfunctioning. That's when Alina remembered something Queen Thyra had told her about harmonic integration. Dr. Chen, she said urgently, what if this isn't a mechanical failure? What if it's a resonance problem? Dr. Chen looked at her with confusion. Resonance. Alina, this is life support equipment, not a musical instrument. But the Velthani understand. Systems integration at a level we don't. They see everything as connected through vibrational patterns. What if our repairs have been disrupting the natural harmonic balance of the station's systems? Before Dr. Chen could respond, Commander Brooks's voice came over the general com. All personnel to emergency stations. We're losing primary power in 30 minutes. Prepare for emergency evacuation procedures. Alina made a decision that would either save them all or end her career. Dr. Chen, I need to talk to Queen Thyra. She might be able to help us understand what's happening. Alina, you're still confined to quarters. Commander Brooks will have you court-martialed if you leave this room without authorization. Then we better make sure this works, Alina replied, heading for the door. She found Queen Thyra and Princess Zara in the cafeteria, which was nearly empty as most crew members were at emergency stations. The two Velthanes sat calmly at their usual table, but Alina could see the concern in their posture. Your station is in pain, Queen Thyra said as Alina approached. We can feel its distress, but your commander has made it clear that our help is not welcome. Commander Brooks is scared, Alina said, sitting down beside them. But people are going to die if we can't fix this. Can you really help us? Princess Zara nodded enthusiastically. The station's systems are fighting because they cannot hear each other properly. Your repairs have created discord in the harmonic matrix that holds everything together. But we can teach your people to listen to what the station is trying to tell them, Queen Thyra added. Zara has a gift for understanding the language of machines. It is why our people chose her to carry forward our knowledge of harmonic engineering. Alina activated her comm unit and called Dr. Chen. I'm bringing Queen Thyra and Princess Zara to the main engineering deck. Tell Commander Brooks that if he wants to save this station, he needs to let them help. The scene in main engineering was chaos. Banks of monitors showed system failures cascading through every section of the station. Chief Engineer Martinez was shouting orders while his team scrambled to reroute power and maintain critical functions. When Alina walked in with the two Velthani, every human in the room stopped what they were doing and stared. Commander Brooks stormed over, his face purple with rage. Vasquez, I gave you a direct order to stay in your quarters. And what are these aliens doing in my engineering section? Saving your station, Alina replied firmly. Sir, with respect, our methods aren't working. We have nothing to lose by trying theirs. Queen Thyra stepped forward, her regal bearing evident even in the chaotic environment. Commander, your station is not broken in the way your people understand breaking. It is discordant. Each system is singing its own song without listening to the harmony of the whole. Princess Zara was already moving toward the main control console, her hands hovering over the interfaces without touching them. The power distribution network is screaming, she said softly. It hurts to listen to, but I think I can help it find its proper voice again. Commander Brooks looked between the failing systems and the young alien girl. The station shuddered around them as another critical system failed. What do you need? He asked finally. Permission to touch your machines. Zara replied, and for your engineers to trust me. What followed was unlike anything the humans had ever witnessed. Princess Zara placed her hands on the main console, and immediately the harsh alarm sounds began to modulate into something more musical. She closed her eyes and began to hum, a complex melody that seemed to resonate through the station's hull itself. She's not just fixing the systems, Dr. Chen whispered in amazement. She's teaching them to communicate with each other again. Queen Thyra explained what they were seeing. Zara can perceive the harmonic signatures of your technology. She's helping each system find its place in the greater symphony of the station's operations. Over the next 6 hours, working alongside human engineers who gradually learned to follow her lead, Princess Zara guided the station's systems back into harmony. Critical failures were resolved not by replacing components, but by helping them remember how to work together. The water reclamation systems began operating at 150% efficiency. The atmospheric processes achieved perfect balance without constant adjustment. Even the gravity generators stabilized at levels more consistent than they had been since the station's construction. As the crisis passed and normal operations resumed, Commander Brooks found Alina in the communication center. "Vasquez," he said quietly, "I owe you an apology, and I owe our guests more than I can ever repay." Alina looked up from her console, where she had been working with Queen Thyra to establish new communication protocols that incorporated Velthani harmonic principles. "Sir, they never wanted anything from us except the chance to share their knowledge and be accepted as friends." Word of what had happened on Omega 7 spread quickly through human space. Within weeks, other stations were requesting Velthani advisors to help optimize their systems. Queen Thyra became the first alien ambassador to address the Human Colonial Council, and Princess Zara was invited to study at Earth's most prestigious engineering academies. But for Alina, the greatest reward came during a quiet moment in the cafeteria several weeks later. She was sitting with Queen Thyra and Princess Zara, no longer the only human brave enough to join them at their table. Half a dozen crew members now regularly ate with the Velthani, learning their language and sharing stories of their respective worlds. "You took a great risk for us," Queen Thyra said, her voice warm with gratitude. "Why did you choose to trust us when your own people warned you away?" Alina smiled, watching as Princess Zara taught Chief Engineer Martinez a Velthani song that could help him better understand the station's acoustic properties. "Because," she said, "sometimes the most human thing you can do is recognize the humanity in others, no matter how different they might appear." The friendship that began with a simple act of kindness had not only saved lives, but had opened doorways between species that would reshape the future of both civilizations. And Alina knew that this was just the beginning of a much larger story about what could be accomplished when fear was replaced by curiosity, and suspicion was replaced by trust. Queen Thyra smiled, an expression that transformed her alien features into something universally beautiful. "Your species has a word for what you did, Alina. You call it courage. We have a word for it too. We call it wisdom." As they sat together, watching the stars through the observation windows, while the harmonically balanced station hummed contentedly around them, Alina reflected on how a moment of simple human decency had changed everything. Sometimes, she realized, the greatest discoveries came not from following protocols, but from following your heart. **